Hello, and thanks for joining us on Newsday. The United States has, with the backing of its European allies, warned Russia that if any of the tens of thousands of its soldiers massed at the Ukrainian border invade, there will be grave consequences. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov are scheduled to have crucial talks in Geneva later on, but Moscow denies planning to invade Ukraine. Here's our diplomatic correspondent, James Landau.
It's not just the Russians who are conducting military exercises. These are pictures released by Ukraine's defense ministry, showing their forces training close to Crimea. It was annexed by Russia in 2014, in the kind of incursion that Ukraine and its allies are trying to deter once again.
I've been absolutely clear with President Putin. He has no misunderstanding. If any assembled Russian units move across the Ukrainian border, that is an invasion. But it will be met with severe and coordinated economic response.
In some of the most intensive American diplomacy for years, the US Secretary of State has been touring Western capitals. He was in Berlin today, rallying support for Ukraine and appealing directly to the people of Russia.
You deserve to live with security and dignity. But what really risks your security is a pointless war with your neighbors in Ukraine.
Western allies are threatening Russia with massive economic sanctions if there's any invasion. Behind the scenes, there are differences over what those penalties should be, but the public message is united.
We are in absolutely close coordination with regard to joint sanctions because we have an absolutely joint assessment of the situation, but also of the reactions with regard to the security of Ukraine. This also applies to sanctions.
Fresh satellite images appear to show how Russia has massed not just troops near Ukraine, but also military equipment. From Klimovo to the north, to Soloti on Ukraine's eastern border, and Novozhnoye to the south near Crimea. The diplomacy now moves to Geneva, where Mr. Blinken arrived for talks with his Russian counterpart on Friday. But the discussions at this hotel tomorrow may be difficult because the gap between both sides is so large. The Americans want to talk about avoiding war in Ukraine, but the Russians want to talk about their demands for NATO to step back and allow Moscow to establish a new sphere of influence across Eastern Europe. In eastern Ukraine, they know what that might mean. Pro-Russian separatists have been fighting government forces here since 2014, and the scars are all to see. Antonina Zaitseva is 72 years old and lives close to the front line. It's a miracle we stayed alive, she says. We could have died many times. She's pro-Russian and fears a full-scale war. Russia denies that is its intention, but its forces are training hard, close to Ukraine. The question now is whether all these exercises might soon become the real thing. James Landau, BBC News, Geneva.